Hello Saxo fans, episode 66, yes. So, I've officially today declared the car sawn off the road. It's the end of September, the weather's been absolutely tragic, no chance of getting it out, so I thought, well, let's use the time and do some stuff in the garage instead. So today is all about building a rear diffuser. Now, I've always wanted to do a little bit of aero with this car, and I was kind of hoping for a balance between this and this. Somewhere in between is probably where I want to be. So what we're going to do today is we're going to focus purely on the rear diffuser today. Now, if you remember a little while ago, probably sort of 10 episodes ago now, I cut my rear bumper. And that was all around, well, I quite like the cut bumper look for a start, but I always had the vision of being able to put a rear diffuser in and around that bumper and around the exhaust, that sort of stuff. So today we're going to make a mock-up design. I've bought some quite flimsy, flexible, what do you call this, fiberboard, I guess. Obviously this is like really, really cheap, so I can mock one up for almost no money, and then we'll make the proper one once I know, you know, the sizes and how it looks and how it fits and all that kind of stuff. So, without further ado, let's have a look under the car and we'll see where we're going to fit it to. Welcome to the underside of the Saxo, still looking fresh as a daisy. So I think it's worth saying the exhaust is probably going to have to move. It is right in the way, and if I do put a diffuser on here to, you know, and left this as it was, it's probably, I'm going to have to cut out so much of the diffuser it's not worth having. So the exhaust is going to have to change, but we are on V-band down there, so I can just go from that point there and maybe just keep this one on the shelf. In terms of mounting points, well, obviously it's going to be a functional diffuser, so it needs to be chassis mounted. So we've got this bar going across here, so I'll put some mounting studs here, and then probably towards the back here, here and on the other side, obviously. So we'll have 4 mounting positions, and hopefully it'll be functional and stylish. That is certainly the aim. Well, the first thing to do then is to get that exhaust out of the way, because it's just going to be a pain to work around. So I think the best thing to do is get the diffuser made and mounted, and yeah, essentially where it needs to be, and then see how much room we've got for an exhaust to go, and build the exhaust around the diffuser rather than the other way around. Well, I'm sure there's loads of aerodynamicists out there that are going to tell me this is a terrible way of doing it, but yeah, I really don't care. It is what it is. So just so you've got an idea of what this might look like and what I'm picturing in my head, here is what I'm aiming for. Something that looks like that. So here's a rear bumper cut out, here's the exhaust, and there's what we want. And then underneath, in terms of like a bird's eye view, it'll sort of be at an angle like this. Rear wheel here, rear wheel here, and then I guess if my current exhaust sort of is in the middle here like this, so if that's the back of the car, something like that. I think the fuel tank is about here, so it'll be nice to get it level with where the fuel tank is, but we'll see how that goes. So that's a quick vision as to where we want to end up. Right, on to making the diffuser then. So step 1, I'm going to use this aluminium 90 section. It's 20 by 20. And essentially going to use this to create the curve of the diffuser, and it'll be where I mount the vanes to, the vertical vanes to. Remember, this is just a functional test, so it doesn't have to look pretty, but this will just prove the concept. Right, I think at this point we've sort of proven that the style is okay. I think it would be semi-functional. However, I have been to see a friend of mine who lives just up the road, and he has a diffuser on his Saxo. And I went to see what that looked like, how he'd mounted it, how low it was, what it looked like, all that sort of stuff. And it just so happens that he lent it to me. Right, so this comes from a chap called Sam, just happens to live about half an hour away from me. He has a Mark 1 turbo, albeit his is an original Mark 1, not like mine. And his does a lot more track work and has genuine aero on his car. So he lent me this just so I could sort of have a little look at it and see where he's put his measurements for mounting and all that sort of stuff. So I think this sort of design would have worked, but looking at how Sam's done it, he has his a lot longer than what mine would have been. I think mine's about 700mm long, maybe a bit more. This is over a metre, so it goes much further forward under the car and mounts in a different place compared to where I was going to mount it. So it was a really worthwhile exercise going to see it and actually take it away and see where the mounting points are and all that sort of stuff. So what I've done is measured this up. Essentially, I'm going to create a version of that. I don't want to call it a copy because it's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be very similar. So I have ordered a big old sheet of aluminium, and what I did was order aluminium vanes that are just rectangles at this point in time, so I can essentially make these any shape that I want, and I've ordered 4 of those. So the material is already roughly the right size, so all I've got to do is essentially cut it and then put some mounting holes in it. And as I say, mounting is going to be the trickiest thing, and we'll get to that in a second. Right, one of the first things I need to do is actually take Sam's diffuser apart. A lot of the rivets are already loose, so I'm just going to take out probably this end one first, and then I can make my templates, which I have got, as I just said, my sheets of aluminium. Now it's worth noting, Sam's I think is 1mm aluminium. I've gone for 1.5. Obviously a small weight penalty, but Sam's material is very, very flexible, and 1.5 is just a step above that. So it was a compromise. So let's get to drilling these out. First one off. Right, fresh piece of aluminum. Sorry we're doing this on the floor. I haven't got my workbenches in the garage sorted yet. So if we just lay the vane from Sam's diffuser on here. So you can see I've had this cut ever so slightly bigger, just so I can play around with the design a little bit. It doesn't need to change a lot. But I think what I'd like to do is maintain this point up here as the very top edge. I'd like to run it a little bit deeper down here because this is so thin and flimsy. I think I need just a little bit more meat, just for longevity more than anything else. So I'm going to sort of taper it round, nice little curved edge. We'll probably run it about 1 centimetre, maybe the distance that's sat up there, deeper, and then just sort of taper it into this edge here. So that's roughly where it's going to be, and then obviously the angle of it that it sits on the car is going to be dictated by probably the same angles as what Sam's is, to be honest. I don't see any reason why I should change it. So we'll do that. Most importantly then, what I want to do is get this marked on here to define the curve, and then I need to use my 90-degree aluminium sheets, no not sheets, corner pieces to then, you know, make that curve possible. And what I want to do is I want to make all 4 exactly the same for obvious reasons, because there is going to be 4 of them. So I'm going to make up a little jig that I'm going to use my welding table for, and then I can bend all 4 exactly the same. It should be pretty straightforward then. So just get this marked on here, roughly drawn out, and then we'll get some of this stuff bent up. Okay, first one cut. You can just see how much deeper mine will be compared to what Sam's currently is. It's about 10 mil, it's not a lot. And just a bit more meat at that front end. Simple as that. So, quick test then. Let's just offer this up because it should follow the same profile. Yep. So it's quite nice. Job's a good one. Super duper. Right, now I need to get a whole bunch more of the aluminium strips. So yeah, let's go get that. Right, very quickly then, here's the plan. This is bolted to the table, so I'm going to use this one as the template for all of them. I've already put my mark in, so what I'm going to do is a little relief cut, which is going to be finished off by an actual drilled hole, so that relief cut doesn't expand. And then I'm just going to do them essentially where the curve dictates that I need to bend it. Having this on here means I'll be able to do them all exactly the same and get 4 identical corner ribs, if you want to call them that. And hopefully then the diffuser will be flat, straight, whatever. So let's get all these done. Okay, there we go then. That was pretty straightforward. I was trying to go at it by hand with my little junior hacksaw, but oh man, that gets boring pretty fast. So hence the trusty old jigsaw, brand new bit in that for fine metal, so it goes through this like butter. Anyway, right, so I put 4 cuts in this, about 4 there and 3 just further up. It's like a double curve there, so it just needed an extra few, but you can see it really does follow that quite nicely. Obviously miles too long at the moment, but trimming that's easy. So now I need to replicate this 4 times, and then once we've done that, we will join the vanes to these 90-degree angle pieces, and then hopefully try and join it to the big piece of aluminium that I've got. Right, let's get 4 of these made. Right, so first one done. Lesson learned with Tiger Seal. Wear gloves, that stuff just goes everywhere. Right, so that one's together. Obviously the Tiger Seal needs to go off, and I very much think this is a case of it's going to look worse before it looks better. And don't worry, all this is going to be powder coated, so yeah, you won't see it. Little issue with the rivets. I think the rivets I ordered are probably too long. So I had a few that were, I don't know if you can see, quite short, so they've come up out the other side nicely. And then some of them, the other ones that I ordered, were too long, so you can really see how much they're protruding. But I can file them down, so it's not a problem. So yeah, just another step in the process. So now I need to replicate that 3 more times. Right, all 4 vanes have been made. I never want to do that ever again. I do not like working with Tiger Seal. I use Tiger Seal only because on Sam's diffuser, a few of his rivets have come loose, and if that happens with mine, at least then, you know, they're still stuck down, so it might save the diffuser, you know, if it does happen. So sort of a belt and braces approach. What I need to do is tidy up some of these edges, because I haven't done any of that yet, so I'll sort that out. But the next thing really is going to be digging out the main sheet that I've got to essentially replicate what Sam's got, and then we'll have a look at how the mounts are going to work and what we're going to use. Right, onto the big sheet then. So it might look like a big square, but it's not quite, it is a rectangle. The plan is to drill all the way down each edge. So this is long way, so that's the front, that's the back. I'm going to drill up down each side and get the two end pieces fitted in, and that hopefully should hold its shape. And then I can do the other ones in the centre, but I will mark them where they need to be, because obviously they need to be even, and it's going to be easy to do that when it's flat. Right, so what I've done then, I've only drilled this side for now, and I've just clamped up the 2 ends with a little G-clamp over there, G-clamp here. I was struggling really to be able to hold it, push it down and bend it all together while trying to drill. You sort of need about 4 pairs of hands. So what I did is I got my bit of spare tube here, stainless tube, and just laid it across and then just pulled it up manually just to give it a rough tweak in the right direction. So you'll see, I think you can just make it out on the video, there's a little bit of a crease here and there's sort of a double crease up there. So it's not perfect obviously, but it doesn't need to be at this stage, it just needs to be roughly right. And then what I can do is go along, use my hands essentially now to clamp these down, make the drill-ins, and it should be a little bit easier. I'm not fighting the sheet so much. So yeah, looking good. So just got to go and drill the 90-degree bar this side and do all of the drillings on that side. Getting there, slowly but surely. There we go then. That's all 4 of those pieces riveted in. Just wait for the tiger seal to go off on those middle 2. Jobs are good. Right, on to mounting then. So I bought a couple of bits. Let me just talk you through the plan very speedy. Just put you in my phone mount here. Right, so quick release bumper mounts. I'm sure you've all seen these before, but these essentially are on a little ball joint and you just pop them in. So 4 of those. So obviously these will bolt to the diffuser. This will stay with the car. And obviously you can put these wherever you want, but these aren't going to be long enough on their own. So I've got a bit of bar. I'm going to cut this to length, thread that in there, nice long thread so I can have adjustment up and down or height wise. And then imagine this is sort of cut roughly here, and then I'll put an internal thread on that and just bolt it from the car on the other side. So the only tricky bit really is to work out how long these need to be. But bear in mind, obviously, like I say, we'll have adjustment on those anyway. And then, of course, where we actually need to put them in relation to the diffuser itself, because we've got to drill the holes for these. So, yeah, a few little measurements to do, but let's do that and get this thing on the car. Right, I've just offered the diffuser up. Sorry we're working at night now. It's only 4:30, but here we go. Right, that's the winter months for you. So, you can see roughly what we're aiming for. So I would say it's only roughly balanced in position, and it's definitely too low where it is right now. I had to put the exhaust back on because I ran the car the other day briefly. So it needs to come up quite a bit at the front and probably another inch at the back. So I already know that we're going to have a bit of a cutout here, obviously, for the exhaust, which was always in the plan. But now I've got a really good idea of how long the mounts need to be. So what I'm going to do is, before I make those, we're just going to get the car up in the air, and I'm going to properly position the diffuser on some axle stands and get it properly located, and then we can make the mounts. Right, I'm halfway through making the first mount. It's 80mm long with a 10mm mounting thread, so that's obviously going to go through the car. And then what I need to do is I'm going to end up putting this on a little bit of an angle. So I'll drill that thread in a minute, but let's get the other one made, and then we can bolt these up and see roughly how much of an angle these need to be at. So let's cut this one. So as you can tell, I haven't got my workbench still, which means my voice isn't mounted. So this is moving, which means this is taking twice as long as it should do, but we'll get there. Right, so I've just positioned the camera at the rear left wheel, pointing backwards towards the centre of the car. And if I show you where these mounts are going to live, or attempt to, it's a bit tricky to get in here, but essentially they're going to sit like that, hence why I've put the thread at an angle. So I've obviously got adjustment to go up and down on that thread. These aluminium blocks will be fixed, and obviously the same both sides, hence why we've got two. So that's the rear end done. So what I need to do now is just measure up where I want them to be up on the car, and equally down here. Now I do have some adjustment in the ball, so it doesn't have to be perfect on the car. Obviously I'd like it to be symmetrical on the diffuser if possible. Okay then guys, there we go. So you saw me just drill the mount positions, both sides, and you can see why I wanted it on a bit of an angle, just to account for that sort of kick up in the diffuser. Drilled two 10mm holes for the bolts. It's all just loose at the moment. These will still move a bit. Obviously I don't want to bolt it all up finally, but now we need to work on the mounts for the front position, and I've got a plan. Right then folks, so this is a bit of a milestone. All four of our mounting points are now in place. All four of the corresponding mounts are on the car. So we're going to officially hang it on the car with no support from any external devices. And if you keep wondering why I haven't chopped these off yet, it's been really handy to be able to manoeuvre the diffuser around using those rather than picking up the sheet metal. I don't want to bend it, so I will cut them off right at the very end. Right, let's get this mounted. Okay, mounting it is super easy. Obviously just all push fit. Jobs are good now. So, just to show you how much movement there is in this, at the moment all the mounts are still loose, nothing is tight, but it's pretty good. And you can put some weight on that and it's not moving. So, the next thing to sort out is, if I just put that there, one sec. You can see my exhaust is pretty much sat on the diffuser at the moment, which was always going to be the way. So I think I'm going to make a little cutout for it. So I think the next thing to do is pop the exhaust back on and see how much room we've got. Right, tailpipe is in, or the silencer I should say. Let me just point this down here. So, as you can see, just there, the V-band is just clashing with the diffuser. So I think a little twist of the V-band will probably sort that out, and I won't have to cut anything down there, which would be a bonus. And if I do have to cut anything, it would be very minor. The other option I've got is to move that V-band further up, but I'm reluctant to do it if I don't need to. So I'll probably see how that goes. The other part is the tailpipe. Now, I have to confess, when I made this, the pie cut is ever so slightly offset. So I don't know if you can make that out on camera, but essentially, just to exaggerate the angle, it's ever so slightly off at that angle a little bit. The actual silencer itself is dead middle, it's just the tailpipe part. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off my pie cuts where I've got the slight downturn, and I'm just going to run it straight, and I'll still have to cut a little bit of this lip here, but essentially I'd like the exhaust to try and be as flush with that as possible. So next thing is just to cut that off, and I think we're at a point now where I could probably get rid of these and tidy these edges up, so I'll do that as well. There we go then, folks, the grand reveal. Needless to say, it's not quite finished. I need to tidy up some of the edges. Just some of the corners are still a little bit sharp, a bit pointy, so I'll sort those out. Obviously it needs powder coating, we'll get to that as well. And I need to just level the diffuser out with the adjustment that I've got in the mount, so I'll get to all of that off camera and we'll come back to it. But needless to say, now we've added some rear aero, maybe some downforce, who knows. We need to sort out something for the front to balance it out. So we're going to make a front splitter, which would also be chassis mounted, and we'll probably get to that in the next episode. So anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry this was such a long episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll see you again for the next one.